Can I sing over here so I can look at my phone? Or I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Do you think I'm fine if I'm over here? I don't know. And I'll let you know, like, if I'm like, yo, this song. But probably just do the second one. Okay. I hope it's. Can you hear the guitar? Yes? No? Yeah? Okay, thanks. Oh. Oh yeah, hi, I'm Nat. I'm just gonna sing some backup song. It's fine. There were things I couldn't say. I just couldn't find the perfect phrase. There were things that I've always wanted to do. I just can't do them now with you. But don't be mad and don't be sad. That's just the way we change. But let's move on and we'll both grow up. Maybe time for us to separate. Be Real just went off for everyone that wants to know. So take it right now. Just kidding. Everyone's like that. When I was younger, I wanted to run away. I just couldn't find the map. Now that I'm older, I think it's so funny looking back. So don't be mad and don't be sad. That's just the way we change. But let's move on and we'll both grow up. Maybe time for us to separate. Honey, maybe time for us to separate. And ain't it funny how the times, oh, they're changing like a picture in an old magazine. Now ain't it funny how the times are changing like your feelings are for me. Now ain't it funny how the times, oh, they're changing like a picture in an old magazine. Now ain't it funny how the times, oh, they're changing, and oh, honey, so are we. But don't be mad and don't be sad. That's just the way we change. But let's move on and we'll both grow up. Maybe time for us to separate. Oh, maybe time for us to. Well, maybe time for us to separate. Hey, thanks. I'm all the rest now. This was like giving some feedback at one point. Hopefully it doesn't do that again. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So this is called Watch It Bloom. Yeah! Yeah! Some people know the song, some people like it. Anyway, yeah. Oh, plant me a tree and I'll water it well. Tell me I'm lovely and I'm under your spell. Oh, I'll be your lover if you keep it sunny. Words are to me like bees are to honey. Oh, bring me a garden, I'll put in the seeds and plant as many flowers as the eye can see. I'll make it so beautiful that you'll stand and stare and say, oh, my lover was there. Yes, I'll be your girl or I'll be your lady. If you treat me right, well then I'll be your baby. I don't really care which name that you choose. Just let us go, let it love and watch us bloom. Well, bring me a bouquet, I'll put it in water and hope it is forever while time is unbothered. And think of you each time that I see him. as if they belong in our little museum. So build me a greenhouse and I'll bring the vines. We can grow citrus like lemons and limes, or rosemary, basil, tomatoes, and thyme in a beautiful garden, yours and mine. Yes, I'll be your girl, or I'll be your lady. If you treat me right, well then I'll be baby. I don't really care which name that you choose. Just let us love, let it grow, and watch it bloom. Yes, I'll be your lover if you keep it sunny. Words are to me like those bees are to honey. I don't really care which name that you choose. Just let it grow and let us love it. Watch it bloom. No, that's that one. Also, does anyone know how much time I have left? Like, just one song, two songs? I'll just keep going until someone tells me to stop. Okay, cool. Am I allowed to swear or no? I am? Is that, oh, yeah, no? He says no, so I'm not gonna swear. Thank you. Thank you, sir, in the back. I don't wanna get kicked out for this, okay? It was only the D word, but I'm not gonna say it anyway. I canceled. 2 more songs, thank you. Why can't I find the song I want to sing? All right, this is a really sad song. Whoa. So, yeah, just kidding. Will this heart of mine ever stop aching? Will I ever be enough in someone else's eyes? Well, I've never been good at faking it. Oh, but I sure feel like I'm fading in the back of my mind. So could you tell me where I got off the wrong station? Could you tell me how I lost track of time? Could you tell me when life gave out the tickets? Or are you saying that I lost mine? Oh, I'm so sick of pretending and telling everyone I'm fine, I'm gonna be fine, I'm gonna be fine. Wasted years and years and years trying to be worth someone's time. Oh, I don't remember when I became an outsider myself, while I watched everybody else being told there's such a catch. Oh, like a can of gasoline that's just wasting away on the shelf. I was ready to set a blaze, oh, but I just didn't have the match. So could you tell me where I got off the wrong station? Could you tell me where I lost track of time? Could you tell me when life gave out the tickets? Or are you telling me I've already lost mine? Oh, I'm so sick of pretending and telling everyone I'm fine, I'm gonna be fine, I'm gonna be fine. Wasted years and trying to be worth someone's time. And it wasn't always lovers, sometimes it was a friend, or even just a stranger, so that we could play pretend. Tell me why I went in circles and circles and circles. What did I gain? Clearly I missed out on something, something everyone's already had. So could you tell me where I got off the wrong station? Could you tell me how I lost track of time? Could you tell me when life gave out the tickets? Or are you telling me I never got mine? Oh, I'm so sick of pretending and telling everyone I'm fine. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. I've wasted years and years and years just trying to be worth someone's time. I wasted years and years and years and years and years just trying to be worth someone's time. Is that it? Is that good? Yeah? Okay. Thanks, guys. Sorry. Great. Thanks for coming out tonight. See you guys later. Can I unplug? Yeah, sure. We're good. Okay, good.
I'm very short. All right, well, everyone's kind of getting settled. Can we give a round of applause to our two performers? All right, thank you all for being here tonight. It's truly a pleasure to have so many of you in this room supporting our contributors. Our annual launch parties like the one tonight are dedicated to the promotion of you as our contributors, and to have all of you in attendance is really special, not only for us as the staff that curated and published this and worked on it, but also as the contributors that are published in it. For many, this event is kind of their first. For many, this is the first publication that so many get the experience to have, and having you here to support them is absolutely wonderful, so thank you very much for being here. For those of you that don't know, I'm Shari Thacker. I'm the editor-in-chief for the Kolob Canyon Review this year. I've been part of the staff for 3 years now, and I can say with confidence that it's because of contributors and attendees like you and all of your guys' interest that has made this event into what it was. Last couple of years, we've held this event at SUMA, and there were so many of you last year that the fire marshals would have kicked us out. So I'm really grateful to be able to move this into the ballroom and see so many of your faces here tonight. I'm also very, very proud to say that we have a record 67 contributors being published tonight. So if everyone wants to give a round of applause to that. All right, before we begin the reading, I would like to announce each genre's editor's choice. So if you've had the opportunity to look through the edition already, you'll notice that there's 4 genres that we publish. We publish fiction, nonfiction, poetry, as well as visual art. And each of those has had one piece selected that we think is the exemplary piece for that genre. So for visual art, the editor's choice winner is Jove Trip Thompson's The Troubled. The fiction editor's choice winner is Audrey Gee's Job Blues. The poetry editor's choice winner is S.M. Beale's When I Say My Favorite Color is Red. And the creative nonfiction editor's choice winner is Kimberlyn Johnson's Sunshine Pancakes. My co-editors, Megan Anderson and Maya Hardy, will be hosting tonight's reading. They will call up 3 readers up to the stage. You'll sit in these chairs while you're kind of waiting, and then you can go through, walk off the stage this way, and then return to your seat. Please note that the work published in KCR may be heavy, possibly triggering, so we as a staff just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that, and we do encourage each reader to make note of those things before you start your reading. I'll now turn the time over to Megan and Maya to begin that reading.
Hi, I'm Megan, and if I could have Haley Drummond, B. Manessy, and Haley Ardinger to the stage. Those would be our first 3 readers. Starting with Haley Drummond.
Hi, I'm Haley Drummond, and I wrote When You Love a Cartoon, which is a creative nonfiction piece. I've been really nervous about this because this is my first time getting anything published, and a lot has changed since I wrote this. Namely, the show that I based this on, The Owl House, released their last 2 episodes. So that happened, but I'm still really proud of this, and I hope you'll enjoy. When you love a cartoon, you watch it several times. The first time was after your friend begged you time and time again to start it. Your social feeds are filled with people squealing about scenes you don't have context for. You have no clue what the show is even about at first, but eventually you click the button on your Disney+. The show probably isn't as good as everyone is saying, you tell yourself as you hit play on the TV. It's on Disney Channel. They haven't made a good show in a while, and you have a weird standard about shows. No show has felt right when you've been trying to get through the backlog of television you've told people you'll watch. Your mind starts to wander as you try to watch, and suddenly the show is over. You tell whoever recommended you the show that you liked it, even though you don't remember anything about it. Very little has stuck with you, and it's a struggle to answer the question, what's your favorite show or movie? And make the answer feel honest. You want to find a show that makes you feel. You're scared you'll just waste your time trying to find one. But your friend has introduced you to content you love. She has good tastes, and you trust her. Maybe you'll like this silly little owl show. The Owl House. It's a funny name. Slowly but surely, you fall in love. You don't even realize you've been through all that's available in a week during the summer before college. You scream so loud that your brother jumps when you discover the show isn't complete and the episodes are airing now. As if the world is punishing you, you remember that you don't have cable to watch the new episodes, so you're forced to wait. The time drags on, and when you finally get your hands on the episodes, you consume them like a woman dying of thirst in the desert. Then your first real hiatus starts, and you're unsure what to do with yourself. You can't stop thinking about this show, this plot, these characters, even though you're trying to figure out how to be a college student. You think about the show on repeat, playing scenes again and again in your head, hoping that this works as a coping mechanism for the hiatus. It doesn't register until after that you're different. There's before you started watching and after. Nothing's the same, and you rewatch familiar episodes because those other shows don't make you feel this way. There's a joy you haven't felt in, well, years now, and you keep watching over and over while counting down the days to new episodes. An eternity will feel like it's passed no matter what you do. When you love a cartoon, you spend a lot of time waiting. The waits are always longer than the episodes feel like they can satisfy. Sometimes you'll get sick of waiting, and even visiting a foreign country won't stop you from watching the newest episode. So you'll lie on your bed and hope the Wi-Fi will hold out for the 25 minutes you need to catch up with the rest of your world. You wonder if your roommate thinks you're strange for doing this, but honestly, you can't care much at the moment. You can care later when your brain decides now is the moment to overthink. Right now, you're probably the happiest you've been in a while, lying there in a bed in a country you love, watching a show you're obsessed with. There's that feeling that, an even longer wait before the episodes near the end. The first episode of the season 3 comes out with only 2023 as a date for the second, and your body betrays you with the unanswered questions that you thought you could contain. Sorry. This show is the only thing keeping you sane through school. As sane might be a stretch. The first episode aired during midterms, and you just pray the 45 minutes of content are enough to buoy you through the rest of the semester without sinking like a stone. You're struggling to focus on studying for your midterms when you'd rather be studying for the events of the most recent episode. Really, it's remarkable you passed those tests and turned your assignments in on time. It's not that you're ungrateful for the prolonging of the show. It's probably good for you that the episodes aren't coming out within a week of each other. Your brain won't explode from content overload if you have to wait months instead of days. But when you heard the news about season 3 being only 3 special episodes, you thought your heart was breaking a little inside. You're grateful you have this show for as long as possible, but the show is a drug and your mind has formed an addiction to the high, and you're not sure how long you can successfully keep the withdrawal at bay. What's more terrifying is the thought of it being gone for good. That day ticks by ever closer, and you're not even sure what the countdown says. What will be worse, the waiting or the end? Only time will tell, and time is your worst enemy. This show has taken time, so much time from you. You invest time that's money you don't have, and wonder if your return on investment will be worth it in the end. It has to be. It will be if you have any say in it. This love, this obsession that you harbor can't be a waste. You won't recover if it is. You want to feel a release instead of a loss when this whole thing is finished, if it ever really does in your head, but you don't want it to let go. Can you have both? Is it possible to accept this loss from your life but mourn it still? Or are you destined to live this life haggard and strangled from the hold this show has on your soul? When you love a cartoon, you're scared of what it means. Why do you feel like crying over not being a chosen one? Why do these lines about not being good enough resonate so deep in your chest? Why are you so scared to pick a favorite character, and why is the answer because of what it will say about you? There's no safe answer can think for who's your favorite character. Why? Question after question, that's all you're becoming now, a vessel for questions, 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 and you don't want to answer most of them. Thanks.
Hello. Am I meant to read just one piece, or can I? Thank you so much. All right. I see that my friend's recording. Wonderful. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is B. Manassi. I use they, them, or he, him pronouns, and this is my first poem, my debut publication, and it is called Contemplating Unhealthy Eating Patterns. I would like to give a trigger warning for eating disorders, so please, if you feel the need to step out of the room, I completely understand. Okay. I told myself that I wasn't sure how I felt about my clothes not fitting. A pair of, if you want to follow along, it's on page 33. Sorry, I'll continue. I told myself that I wasn't sure how I felt about my clothes not fitting. A pair of overalls that used to cling to the curve of my belly now shifts over empty space between fabric and flesh. I told myself I wasn't sure, so I would not admit to liking it, because I know it is wrong to want to be thinner, not healthier. I don't have an eating disorder because I do eat. I feed myself every day, a mantra that spawned from thinking I am in control. But people who eat don't feed themselves. They have meals or snacks. They sit and they enjoy and they dine together. To feed is to control the animal of hunger, not to befriend it. A well-meaning aunt of mine sat with me in a restaurant, and when I told her I had lost my appetite, she told me she was not worried. I can't see bones, she said. I don't have an eating disorder because I know what it looks like. The image of a teary-eyed, troubled girl tangled over the toilet. She is not me. I have not evaporated. I am not mist. I don't have stories of starvations like the stunning girls around me do. I don't have an eating disorder because I am not good enough. I haven't practiced enough. I haven't let the animal ravage me, destroy my body yet. Thank you. And then I have my second poem on page 119. This is called Red Map, and it's about anxiety. My bottom lip is a jagged map of all the times I've been swallowed by stress, cut by my own teeth. The islands of dry skin are divided by red rivers. My jaw is clenched, teeth tectonic plates grinding beneath. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Haley Artinger, she, they pronouns. And this is my second time being published in KCR, which I am extremely grateful and honored for. And I'm going to be reading a poem for you on page 40, if you're interested in following along. It's called Desert Girl. Those skies of Nevada evenings shifted above my mountains once it hit 6 o'clock when the sun dimmed significantly. The heat, suffocating, paused, allowing the sky to burn in swirls of smoky pink, yellow, and navy blue, and the mountains made of fine sand and glass glowed with a worn violet hue. I imagined that I'd escape that home I called the hellscape, wished away the colors for something bluer in nature and tone, And when I closed my eyes, I dreamed of a viridian forest that spanned as far as I could ever imagine seeing, and icy shards, clouds dropping, silver and light. Then the prickle of a hot breeze against my skin, the last remnant of the day, torturous as it might have been, lowers me back to the hill of sand.
Hello, hello. I'm Maya, and I'll be announcing our next three readers. Before they go, when you guys come up here, you guys are allowed to adjust the mic, and you guys have 5 minutes to read. Just a few reminders. So next up, we have Scum Hellebore, Natalie Fransom, and Alexander Siles. You guys can just come up, okay?
Hello, my name's Scum Hellebore, and I use they, them pronouns. I'm going to be reading my fiction piece, Meatloaf Mortuary, on page 83. Metleaf Mortuary sits quietly behind rusting iron bars on the corner opposite of Wagner Elementary, visible through the school playground's chain link fence. The children, whether playing kickball or foursquare on the chalked blacktop, only acknowledge the ivy-grown building when the black hearse and its metallic growl drive down River Street. As rubber tires squeal, youthful laughter turns to grave silence, and each youngling runs behind their teachers. "I don't like that Meatloaf is right there," one student says as another shouts, "Don't let the horse get me." Feeling trembling arms holding onto their legs, the children's respective teachers correct them. "Metleaf, Johnny," and "Hearse, Rebecca," they say. The chill air fills with teachers' reassuring words from their softened voices, calming down each child so they can return to their joyful games. "Now, kids, we've been over what that place and that car mean to each of us," Mrs. Gardner explains. "We should be happy." Now pulled into Metleaf's storage garage, the hearse's engine grumbles to sleep, and a tall figure steps out of the passenger seat with muddy dress shoes and a face longer than a river, his shoulders dropped and his hands loose at his side. After the ride from the service back to Metleaf, he turns to thank the driver but does not meet their eyes for fear of them seeing tears beginning to well again. While he walks back to his car down the long driveway, head low, a child climbs out of the back door of the hearse, and she tries to follow him, yelling, "Daddy, please don't forget me." But the brown-haired child cannot get his attention. She tugs at his pant leg, shouts, and even tries to stand in front of him and block his way, but he walks straight through her. The child, in a pink sequin dress and light-up sneakers, sits down in the dry grass and watches her father get in his car and drive away. "Okay, everyone, you know what to do," Mr. Harris calls out and guides the children to the fence. "Over here," one child calls, and another yells, "We'll play with you," as they all wave their hands and jump against the fence. Thank you.
Oh, I'm tall. I'll just do it like this. Okay. I'm Natalie Franson. I have two poems I'll be reading today. The first one is on page 70. It's called He Was Sour Patch Kids. First that sour, sucker punch, pucker your lips, sudden twitch, tang in your jaw, overpowering, mouth-watering, nighttime calling, something that only lasts a few seconds, maybe if you're sensitive, feels like a minute. And for a minute, I thought to spit him out. But then he turned sweet, melting in your mouth, slow and lasting, lingering taste, stick to your teeth, kind of sweet. Long walks on the beach, morning calls in matted hair, laughing and smiling, giving up secrets without a care, living without a care. And he made up for the lingering sour with so much sweet, it could give me diabetes. And the second one is on page 118. It's called Rubble. And this one's about mental health, but I don't know, anyway. It ends with the hair clippings, sweeping up the coarse cuttings like a post-crisis crew picking up. My rubble isn't always matter. Sometimes I forget that it's there. No physical evidence, no yellow tape. Only words piled up in corners and pictures flashing through broken slides on a projector. My rubble is silent. It didn't come from an earthquake, though there was always a fault line. And it's my fault. Lines I draw to protect and to savor, lines to keep out and lines to keep in. Lines in the kitchen tile that catch each strand as I continue to sweep up the hair clippings. Thanks.
Okay, I'm Alexander Stiles, and I'm going to read my poem, Hot Trans Summer. It's on page 153, and there's a content warning for dysphoria, so if you need to, you can step out. 3 layers of thick binding fabric hug my chest, drinking in the summertime heat, like hands clasped around the last sip of water for miles. Perspiration burrows into the folds of my flesh, honey sticky. The grass against my ankles is crisp. Cars rest in the parking lot, and the breeze spreads their burning rubber cologne to the clouds above. Men pass on the sidewalk. They have full shoulders like rolling hills and rumbling voices like thunderstorms. Wispy grass hair on their faces and smooth stones on their throats. The air bends around them as it does the Red Rock Mountains on the horizon. They walk tall with chests unburdened, unbound. The clouds give them shelter from the sun's rays, but never me. If our bodies are homes, theirs have insulation and AC. Mine is glass. Thank you.
The next 3 readers will be Audrey Gee, Alexis Smith, and Dee Bryan.
All right, I will be reading my poem, Alchemy of the Mind, on page 24. Stars in the night sky light up the night from billions of miles away. This may seem hopeless to some, for that legacy seems so distant, so unattainable. To others, this is their dream, to turn darkness into light, to drown the shadow of the night in their glory. To the few, this is inspiring. Look into the void of nothing, and seeing everything, every opportunity, every chance. To use alchemy of the mind and make yourself a legacy that follows after the timelessness of stars, the impossible becomes possible. A single space can carry more weight than an entire galaxy. Being made from stardust, how could you look at the night sky and see no hope? Thank you.
Hello. So there's like a content warning for mine, but also I don't think I'm going to get that far, so you shouldn't need to worry about it today, just in case you read it later. It's Job Blues on page 4. Everyone I know talks about how much they hate their job. They talk about their little pet peeves and their corrupt bosses and anything else they can think of while sitting around every bar they can get into. They moan and cuss until the sun comes up to the next morning and they must return to their terrible 9-to-5s. I never join them, settling instead for a water bottle that tastes like chemicals and boredom on my couch. That doesn't mean I don't hate my job, though. Of course I hate my job, and I'd put money I could win any session they start. In fact, if it came down to numbers and science, I'm sure I hate my job more than Jim, Kevin, Slade, and Timothy combined. I hate it all. I hate waking up, I hate shaving, I hate brushing my teeth, I hate showering. I hate the smell of the cologne my mother bought me while I was still considering a worthwhile career. I hate putting on the gray suit I can barely afford, and I hate buttoning silver buttons. I even have grown to hate the cup of angry black coffee that once had been the only thing to get me through my day. The dread starts every morning as I lie awake, eyes open before my alarm clock can even begin to chirp. I stare at the ceiling, waiting, torturing myself with the possibility that it could finally be the morning when the phone doesn't ring. Alas, like every morning before, the phone does ring, and I'm forced to go about my day like usual. The moment the phone is off the receiver, I can hear the timid breathing that often accompanies customers. Thomas Welsh? It is, and may I ask who I'm speaking to? Alana Green, is this the... Of course it is. Silence follows my interruption, and I roll my eyes. Wasn't it bad enough she was calling? And now she was going to make me wait too. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I should have called. Then hang up, I snap. I listen to her shaky breathing, hoping, praying that she would listen to me, but of course she doesn't.
4298 Canary Way, she finally says before quickly hanging up, leaving me with nothing but the dial tone droning against my brain. Now I'm making my way towards her address, briefcase in tow, keeping my head down and doing my best to ignore the nonsensical chirping of bluebirds. Despite my efforts to walk undetected, my neighborhood allows for no such thing. The company-provided suit, as crisp as the day I got it 5 years ago, and the matching black shoes certainly cost more than these people's entire wardrobes. Not that it was just the clothes. I could have worn the same thing as every other Tom, Dick, and Harry, and I still would have stuck out like a sore thumb. My mother had always promised me I would mentally grow into my height, but I'm sure the only thing that matches my 6'5" frame is the size of my shoes. Frankly, if anyone were to glance my way, they'd think I was a tax collector in a part of town that couldn't afford to pay their taxes. And it shows in the eyes that linger on me as I pass the houses that look exactly like mine, complete with the chipping brick walls. Most of them have probably never owned shoes without holes in them, let alone shoes to match a suit. Even their yards look poor, like they can't afford enough water to feed their weeds. That's really why I live here, a gentle reminder that despite all of the Egyptian stitching, I'm no better. I have the same ugly house, the same cancerous lawn, and I breathe the same air. Even now, if I breathe too deeply, I can feel the asthma from childhood wrap around my lungs until I'm sure it would be better to expel the organ entirely. Despite all the ill will, I would rather live here than the pompous streets of Canary Way, a richer part of town full of fops and people who play jazz for fun, not because it's all they can afford. No, it would be nothing short of torture to live on Canary Way. It's while I'm still embraced by poverty that I allow myself to hate Miss Alana Green, hoping it will make it easier to steal from her. It's easy while I'm still 15 minutes away from the stop sign that signals the turn. She's drowning in money, I'm sure, and of course her house is beautiful, something one might find in an interior design magazine. She probably woke up with pin curlers in her hair, laid among silk sheets, lazily ringing a gold bell to summon the silver spoon she used to eat her breakfast. From then on, she would retire to the sitting room and a record playing in the background while she pretends to understand poetry. I hate her all the way to the stop sign and up the stairs of her luxurious porch, and even when I knock on the pristine white doors I had imagined on the way over. It isn't until she opens the door that, like every other customer, all the hatred vanishes.
Hi, it's a pleasure. I'm Alexa. I'll be reading Rekindling on page 70. I did want to thank my muse for bringing this to life and my workshop group for shaping it into what it is today. Rekindling. It is painstaking to gather the wood, axe to lumber, a full day's labor, arrange the logs, meticulous in nature, light the match, ignite the fire as best we could, nurse the flames, maybe higher than we should, just to bask in the embers that were fanning us on in this never-ending pattern, douse the blaze. Our need for warmth withstood. What unfair trick of fate to condemn us to this cycle, to only spark on the weekends. A fleeting caress, a burn from your flame, help me board the plane with ashes in your eyes. Nevertheless, I will wait here, match in hand.
It's me again. Hi. Our next three readers are Emran R. Syme, Anna Nova, and Geneva Williams.
Hi there. So I will be reading from my short story, Teach Me to Fly. It's a little too long to read the whole thing, so I'm just going to be reading towards the end. I'm not really sure if it comes up in the section that I'm reading, but overall in the story there is a content warning for mentions of abuse. So I'm pretty sure it's only like lightly alluded to in the section I'm going to be reading, but if you'd rather be safe, feel free to head out now. All right, so I'll be starting on page 131. Teach me to fly, the child whispered to me, voice breaking.
I turned my head to get a better look at it and chirped to make certain. Somehow the meaning was understood, and it whispered again, just a little stronger. "Little robin, please teach me to fly." Its mouth trembled again, and more water came from its eyes. To fly up and away, past this fence, to the sky and beyond. To fly across the world, never to be tied down again. Please teach me to fly. I chirped in agreement, enthused that it asked. I tittered on to it about the everything, how it was when I left my nest, and how beautiful it all was to fly. It listened in earnest, though I wasn't sure how much it understood. I told it of how the first time can be scary, as you will either fall or you will fly. And when all your life you've known nothing but your nest and nestmates, looking over the great expanse of everything can make you shudder like a bush in the storm. I told it how, for me, it was possible from encouragement from my mother, out of an ambitious desire to see more. But for the child, I told it, it must fly because a nest was no nest when it was filled with predators. "You must learn to fly, child," I exclaimed. "You must, you must, you must." As I flew from post to post, trying to show it how, something lit in its pain-filled eyes. It stood on two legs, just like a bird, however tremulous those legs may be. It drew near to the sideways trees, looking up at me. "Tell me about everything," it pleaded, palm pressed against the trunks. So I did. I told it of clouds that left chilly dew in my feathers, of water that tumbled from high in the mountains. I chirped and tittered and told of how all these things could be seen if it learned to fly, fly, fly. The child looked up at me as if it had never had a father to tell of the beauty in everything and to urge it to see it all. And as I chirped and sang to it of the everything, it reached up, digging its tiny claws into the soft, dead wood of the sideways trees, and little by little, it climbed up to me. The child pulled itself up high, balancing on the trunk with its breast pressed against the wood. I chirped, showed it how to stand on 2 feet, and spread my wings. I flew in a small circle away from the child's nest into a bit of the everything, circling around and coming back. The child's eyes had followed my flight, seeming to tremble just a little less. "You must fly, little one," I told it. "Fly away from this den of predators, find a new nest. Make your own if you must. Fly far away until you find a mother who can teach you about the beauty of the everything. Fly, little child, fly." The child stood, the first among its nestmates, at that edge, looking out over the bigness and everything. It looked for a trembling moment back to that den, where its nestmates were warm and dry. But it knew, as I did, that they too were trapped among predators. It looked back to me, to the everything, and made that choice, to leave all that it knew for the very first time, to spread its wings and let the wind hold it fast. It leapt to the sky, wings spread to embrace the wind, and fell into the unknown, into the everything. The child did not fly as I did, but I knew then that how one flew meant little. All that mattered was that they flew beyond the torment of their garden. All that mattered was that they spread their wings and jumped to embrace the bigness and everything, feeling something awaken in their chest, the feeling of the air somehow crisper, heartbeat somehow stronger, wind somehow wiser. To know within all their being that they were born to fly, to see all the never-ending everything the wind could offer. I knew how to fly, and it seemed to be with such ease for one to know. The nest taught me well, but some did not have that gift. So instead, I turned and watched with pride as the child learned to fall, to fly. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Anna Novoa. I'm going to be reading the first bit of my story, Out of Focus, on page 108. And before I go, I'd just like to thank my teacher who lives 4 hours away, but you know, the thought counts, Mr. Harris, for encouraging my creative writing. And also, they told me I couldn't swear after, they told me that I could swear after I submitted it, so like, just know I would have put more cusses in there if I had known that. So, you know, just insert them as you will. All right. We're going 30 miles an hour in the fast lane. I don't deign to look at my father because it feels like his slow-ass driving is a test of my patience. We weren't getting full-on dirty looks from people who passed us in the right lane, but I distinctly saw that glance and that a nod of confirmation because, yes, it was a little old man who was driving so slowly, of course. Among other things, he gets a pass for this because of his age. He looks at least 90. His hair isn't completely gone. Instead, it's become so thin, stringy, and hard to control that he allows it to do whatever it wants, making him look like an old heroin addict that's too doped up to tell the difference. The cracks in his face form dehydrated canyons, the spots of color on his hands, landmarks visible from space. I half expect to creak whenever he stands up. I tighten my folded arms and shift away from him as if I can prevent myself from someday looking like the old codger if I just stay far away enough. Hopefully, I'll be long gone before that many years pass. He won't, though. It's always the bitter ones that live the longest. I pull out my phone to annoy him, and sure enough, he makes that grunting noise when he sees it. The sound manages to convey his general disappointment in me and jealousy at the fact that I know how to use my phone. Today's top story, yet another city flooding. The next, new lakes forming in Arizona. Part of me wonders if it's ever going to rain again. Mid-September and the sky is clear, the pool's still open. Dad always says climate change is bullshit, of course. Haven't you ever heard of a thing called seasons? Neither of us are feeling particularly chatty today, thankfully. I decide it's best for my mental health to stay off my phone, so I screw with the radio instead. Dad gives me the side eye but says nothing. Evidently, he's gotten tired of my attention seeking. We're back up to the speed limit when I get a text from Lila. Now that I'm stuck in the old Lexus, which might as well be a Hummer for all the exhaust it spits out with the old man, she's suddenly cleared up her schedule and could have given me a ride today if only I'd reminded her, silly me. I let her play it off as a coincidence, taking her sparse apology without sending my skepticism back. Lila, whoops, yep. Lila, That's about the reaction I have whenever Lila calls me. I mean, she's my sister, and I love her and all that obligatory stuff, but I've kind of lost the will to try to stay caught up on her life. She only calls to tell me stuff when her friends are busy. Not that I mind. She spent half an hour telling me about her latest boyfriend last time. I set my phone on the counter and edited some photos for a while, half listening. She makes for good white noise. That was a while ago. Whoops. She swore off talking to me for reasons I can't remember. She's done that to Dad several times, though, and still winds up playing nice again so she can ask for money, so I'm not worried. Last time I actually saw her, I was going to this Chinese place at midnight, which is a weekend habit I haven't been able to kick since freshman year. It let me pretend I was still excited about being an independent adult. The neon sign outside the restaurant looked very aesthetic, so I was taking a picture of it when I noticed my sister across the street, stumbling out of a karaoke place with a group of people. I couldn't help but wonder how long she'd known them or how long they would put up with her. She looked happy, at least, which is what I tried to focus on. Naturally, though, the starkest part of that memory is some guy watching her hungrily. One of Lila's friends, Beth, seemed to think for a while that I was her friend by default. Either that or she just didn't know anyone who frequented the coffee shop that she was always haunting. She always sat with me and would immediately start talking, no matter how pointedly I avoided eye contact. At least she kept me updated on Lila, back when I cared. I used to dig for this, going down our list of shared friends until someone could tell me where my sister was and what she was doing. Now I wish Beth would leave me alone and keep Lila's shit to herself. I saw her the other night. She always wants to go out, but I'm broke, of course. What am I supposed to do? Some of us have work in the morning, she laughed. Lila had a job. She just didn't care. I didn't tell Beth that I was moving across the country. I also didn't tell her she was an irresponsible bitch for leaving my sister alone. No doubt she would be alone until someone hit on her, which never took long. I look at her number on my phone now and wonder if our old man knows any of this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Geneva Williams, and I'll be reading Beautiful Beings on page 26. Ever since the beginning, I felt like I had a connection with beautiful beings. It feels as if we walk the same path, searching and seeking for meaning. Our African hearts both beating, bleeding with the same blood, as we look at the red-hot sun in unison. Our feet fearlessly fleeting, chasing the feeling that is giving us fuel. We skip and hop on boulders bigger than us that bridge gateways while green embery shrubbery brushes against our legs. Through the red-brownish waves, our fate is awakened. Seeking salvation, salivating the moment in African tongues, pumping and pulsing in the purest form of spiritual energy. We're like earthly expanding supernovas. God knows we are trying to dig for a destiny deeper within our roots, even in our bountiful bones. We walk the same crumbly, cracked, and clay grounds on the African Sahara, step by reaching high peaks, promises, and prophecies at last, a passing for paradise. Skies and blue-orange tents that are layered lovely, suddenly slipping in silky, seductive silhouettes. Wispy white clouds touching mountain tips, stripped with a godly golden glow, making shadows show. Stillness in this vast open space, we can taste the victory in our mouths. The sweetness of sounds fills our ears that brings us back to life, thriving in our melanin skin that shines naked as we dance in the wind, senseless and sincere in our ways. Spent days racing and ravishing in the breeze while running from our enemies. We sit vulnerable in thought on how we're going to survive. We get closer at sunrise, become distant when sun sets. We learn our lessons as it places lightness on our heavy souls, afraid to fall back into being seen as afterthoughts, lost in translation, wanting a reconciliation, that warm rekindling again and again. We become more than just good friends, but familiar family, taught me that there is whole and holiness within myself, that God lives with me, that I should love me. I know we'll meet again soon as I look up at Mother Moon knowing we'll be all right. Thank you.
Our next few readers will be Aaron Patterson, Elm Stafford, and Famke Halma.
Hi, I'm Erin Patterson. So I wrote this while I was home for fall break, thinking about my perception of the concept of home and how that's changed over the past few years. So to give a bit of context for the part of this piece that I'm going to read, I was raised in the LDS church, and it was a major part of my life for pretty much my entire life before I moved to college. But as I started to learn more about who I am, I distanced myself from the church and religion altogether. But I really struggled through that because I didn't know who I was or where I belonged. But I knew something was missing from my life, so that's kind of where this piece came from. So realizing you're wrong is hard. I thought I could get by without Jesus in my life because I had been taught that he could get by without me. It was honestly a little embarrassing to even think about praying again. What was I supposed to say? Howdy God, it's me, the one that said I'd be fine without you. Well, it turns out I'm not actually fine. Anyway, love ya, XOXO. Literally so embarrassing. But I knew I needed something to change, so in true prodigal son fashion, I went to my divine dad and said, look, I've messed this up, and I don't even think I'm yours anymore. Please help. But unlike the prodigal son's father, I think God and his son must have been tired from all that time they had already spent chasing me because nothing happened. Even when I was closer than a great way off, there was no compassion or running toward me, falling on my neck and kissing me. The moment came and went without even the suspicion of a divine dash to come to my aid, and I was convinced God was giving me the silent treatment because I had just made out with a girl the night before. I thought he had given up on me completely and that there was no hope to ever have a relationship with him again, so I went about my day feeling red-faced, humiliated, and discouraged. Over the course of the next week, I felt shitty, really, really shitty. At least before I tried to pray again, I had a hope that I might be able to find my way back to the peace that Jesus Christ brings into a person's life. But now I had nothing to look forward to. I had convinced myself that this feeling was going to be what I had to live in forever. And then my roommate invited the missionaries over. My first thought when opening the door to two teenage boys dressed in white shirts, ties, and black name tags was, oh, fuck this. I was not about to let these two representatives of an organization that had done so much harm to me in the past waltz into my home and berate me for leaving the church to protect my sanity. But something possessed me to let them in and listen to what they had to say. The lesson went okay. They said things that I agreed with and things that I didn't agree with, but they listened to my concerns and didn't discount any of my experiences. They didn't really say anything I hadn't heard before, but they did say things I hadn't heard in a while, which gave me a feeling of nostalgia for the feeling of home that I used to have in the church, and that allowed me to feel a spirit that I hadn't felt in way too long. Through feeling this spirit again for the first time in a long while, I realized what had been wrong all along. The darkness I was feeling stemmed from not feeling like I had a home. When I was active in the church, living with my parents felt like home because they perpetuated the ideas that I was hearing in the place that shaped my entire identity, the church. But since leaving the church and losing that integral part of who I was, I no longer feel like I'm at home when I'm with my parents. I have to put on a mask around them. But as I've started accepting myself and coming to terms with my new identity, I've found where I feel most at home, and it's not a place. I feel most at home with Jesus, not in the church, but with Jesus himself. In the church, I have to pretend to be someone I'm not. I have to be the house on the rock that stands still, never changing or getting redecorated. On that rock, though, I'm comfortable with my refurbished beliefs. I can be who I actually am. I don't have to wear any sort of costume, and there are no conflicts in my identity. I don't believe Jesus really cares if I occasionally kiss a girl or if I drink alcohol from time to time. I don't think it really matters to him if I go to church every Sunday or if I can recite scripture mastery verses like they're written on the back of my hand. I think what really matters to Jesus is that I'm comfortable in his presence and that I don't know and have a relationship with him. He just wants me whether I'm active in the church or not, and that is why he feels like home.
Hello, everyone. My name is Famke. I'll be reading 2 of the pieces that got published. One of them is, or the first one I'll be reading is on page 71 if you want to read along. It's I Hate Lava Lamp Boy. So, I miss the glow of Christmas lights, of fights the night of Christmas Eve and bruised blueberries, of carnivals and their carousels and churro stands, haloed and technicolored with their grease and neon gleam, of forgotten drive-in theaters and hazy headlights, trucks rolling through the grass like lovers on a picnic blanket, of burning red lava lamps in the dirty room of a boy who told me he doesn't believe in space cowboys. But I do. I do. I believe in them as much as I believe that this body of mine can return to being sacred and holy ground, time and time after being sacrificed and violated. I believe in them as much as I believe that there are tiny little creatures living on Venus, waving their tiny little hands at Mercury in the distance, waiting for a signal in return. But the tiny little creatures on Mercury don't wave back. They never do. You can hear Venus sigh all the way from Mars because it's so lonely. So I tell Lava Lamp Boy that he can screw himself. I tell him that there's no way I could ever turn my back on the tiny little creatures. I am tears unchristened, heart unburdened and unburned, because somehow we're okay that the sun is also a star. Yes, I believe in cowboys floating through space and pretty girls on picnic blankets, and drive-in theaters and hazy headlights and crumbly churro sugar and rickety carousels, and arguing in the dark and forgotten blueberry cupcakes in a broken oven, and Christmas lights I will throw away next year because too many of them are broken. You can't tell me it doesn't count for something, because I do. I do. And then the second poem I'll be reading is on page 120. It's called The Body, and it's just basically something that I was experimenting with because my mother is a Vietnam War survivor. So, the body houses 206 bones that are built for defense against aerial warfare. Strong, unmatched in sturdiness, wrapped in delicate tissue, begging you to come inside your neighbor's unfinished basement. The water knows no bounds, and the blasts break the ceiling as if to say, bones are just bones. My grandmother carried me in her stomach when she carried you, and when she carried you, she carried what would be left. Are you proud that these are the bones you leave behind? Are you embarrassed? Do you wish they were someone else's? Bones are just bones, as bones are just in chicken broth, as bones are just the remnants of a fallen nation, as bones are just in the bark of cut-down trees, as I am just in you. Long after I am gone, and my weathered bones have forgotten where they lie, I will learn to crawl home into the arms of my father. I will lie in that hollow womb of my mother without remembering a single thing about her. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Megan Anderson, Kylie Brown, and Tara Dole.
never been up here before. So I'll be reading my work called, thank you for the pity chuckle. I'll be reading my work called A Glint of Gold, and it's inspired by a short story called Wild Ones by Vanessa Fogg. I wrote this my freshman year, and I hope it's improved since. There was a time I lived a life burdened with gravity, ever aching for the air. As a child, I danced with the wind, joy spilling out my chest as I threw myself into movement. The trees were my friends, whistling tunes to me through their leaves, their highest branches my playground, until my mother's voice rang through the air with cries for dinner, calling my heart back to the earth. Sorrow filled my chest whenever my motion was stilled. Home was my anchor. My mother's mac and cheese kept my belly full and my soul tethered to the ground. I still remember her eyes, pools of azure sky often crinkling with laughter. There was always something deep within them that I could not quite catch. Life has taught me it was fear, ever afraid for her little wild child, so often lost to the woods. She had a right to fear. I could not be hers forever. There have always been tales, whispered words that come from the woods, of children so full of light and sky that they lose their grip on the ground. Legends that told of ladders of light that stretched down from the sun and led them to paradise, or golden paths that led past beasts with stars for eyes and voids for mouths, with hungry bellies and reaching hands. Stories told secondhand in quiet hallways or on bustling streets. Stories of lost children and searching parents. No one truly knew what happened to those missing children, only that they were safe in bed one night and gone before the next. All that was left were stories to tell children to keep them from misbehaving. My mother never used the stories against me. She avoided them, taking great lengths to keep me from them. So we lived a solitary life on the edge of the woods. Sometimes, even now, I wonder if knowing the myths would have changed anything. Could I have learned to be happily tethered to the earth, never knowing the taste of free air? Perhaps in time, I could have learned to love mediocrity if I had known the alternative way was to slowly forget the sound of my mother's voice, to leave her behind, alone. My destiny came for me just before lunch, a week after my 12th birthday. I woke with the sun, familiar energy coursed through my veins as the light touched my skin. Meeting my mother at our little table, I ate breakfast too fast and waved off her calls of caution as I ran towards my home in the woods. The hours I spent between the trunks are muddled now, but I could never forget the odd quiet of that morning, and there was a twinkling light that appeared on the edge of my vision. Glimmering gold just out of sight led me in and out of the underbrush, playing a game with me that I could not name. It whispered without words promises of something beautiful beyond comprehension. Led by my twinkling companion, I noticed the trees opening into a clearing that I had never seen in my years of adventuring. Just as I stepped foot into the center of the open glade, my focus was disrupted by the raucous sound of snapping branches deep in the woods behind me. Some part of me knew what it was. Inexplicably, my mother had realized that this trip in the forest was meant to be my last, and she would not let me go quietly. My eyes searched the tree line until I saw a figure break from it. Chest heaving with exertion, my mother called out to me. A light wind brushed my toes, and I kicked out, realizing I was no longer touching grass. An unseen force had fought against gravity and pulled me into the air. Now beneath me, my mother stretched her hand to me. My home was right there, with windswept hair and tears streaking down her face. Our eyes met, and I felt mine burn with tears. Reaching down, my fingertips almost brushed hers. For a moment, I stopped rising altogether, and we cried out to one another. In my mind's eye appeared a scale, and this was the tipping point. My mother's lips moved silently, forming a silent plea. I searched her eyes frantically, seeking my path forward. In them, I saw a reflection of the sky. Fingers curling in, I pulled my arm to my chest. A tear fell past my mother's devastated face like a single raindrop as I held in a sob and turned my back on the world. Embracing a power beyond my understanding, I fell upwards into the golden sky. Thank you.
My name is Kylie Brown, and I'll be reading two poems that I wrote. The first one does deal with themes of body image. It's called Progress. What is progress? Progress is visual. It's accepted, valued. It's seeing the numbers on the scale as they decline at a rapid rate, going backwards, never forward. It's your waist shrinking as your friends all shout, "Congratulations, you look so good," as if somehow I didn't look good before. It's losing 40 pounds in 1 month, the shock on people's faces as they tell you you are so strong, they are proud of you, not hearing the aggressive rumbling of your stomach. It's stuffing carrots and apples down my throat like I'm a damn rabbit, running around the track 10 times more than putting food in my own mouth, 100 calories here, 200 there. Progress? Progress is hating yourself to the point of starvation, just so that others will view you as successful. What is progress? Progress is silent. It's personal, self-acceptance. It's slowly realizing numbers are just that, numbers upon a scale, not giving them any weight, even if others do. It's putting on that crop top, telling yourself, I look amazing, I love my body, while others tell you to cover up, your body is not worth seeing. It's recognizing clothes are for all sizes, letting your rolls hang out in pride, loving every inch of yourself, proud of who you are, even if there was a time where you weren't. It's walking with my head held high, comfortable in my own skin. It's wearing short dresses and low-cut shirts, not hiding behind sweaters, a silent smile here, showing my stomach there. Progress? Progress is learning to love yourself despite what society thinks, so that one day you can view yourself as successful. The next one is called Religious Inquiries of a Homosexual. They say that God is benevolent, that he is a being of endless love, but that he cannot love me. They say he once walked the earth, spent time with the lowest of us all, but that I am not worth his time. They say he healed the sick, cleared every person of their sins, but mine are far too great. They say he forgave an adulteress, accepted her by his side, but he can never accept me. They say we are all his children, including murdering thieves, but act like I am the exception. They say a lot of things, but I'm beginning to believe that they don't know a thing. If what they say is true, then why have I felt his love, his arms wrapped firmly around mine? Why have I felt him near me, spending hours by my side? Why do I feel my sexuality is not a sin, that he would never view my love as such? Why have I felt his acceptance when I cried to him of my pain? Why am I still his child, no matter what they say? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tara Dole. I use she, they pronouns. And this first piece I'm going to be reading is my first ever published creative nonfiction piece, and it's called Just a House. I've always searched for a new home wherever I could find it, but I fear nothing will ever be as familiar or hold me in as much of a vice as the house I spent my adolescence embarrassed by. It's a crumbling little place on a large plot of land that stands right on the busiest street in the city. Termite damage, building code violations, and old age always threaten the yellowing walls. The heavy equipment that my father fixed up scorched the dusty earth of the backyard. That must have been his way of forever damning us to remember him, beyond the reminder that I bear his blood in my veins and his nose on my face. Just like the memories of the house that I will never be able to cleanse from my mind, the smell of the basement or the vomit mustard color of the carpet. Turbulent, tense voices were the signature of that house. Maybe that's why I have trouble accepting kind words, for what could they carry besides hidden animosity? Grudges left unheard outside of pointed glares and slammed cupboards. Don't misunderstand, I don't want people's condolences. My family was often the subject of pity and gossip that ran through the sleepy suburban streets near that house like flash floods down a drought-starved creek. Saying, I'm sorry that happened to you never accomplished anything outside of turning me into a poor bird with a broken wing in the eyes of those who said it. Something that had to be nursed back to health, a project, never a person in my own right, but an obligation to be taken care of due to my brokenness. I could talk about the way the house rattled when harsh, resentful footsteps treaded its floors, or how I tucked myself into dark, forgotten corners to avoid more hostility. But I've written too much about these things. I have pitied myself in the way I claim to hate, because without that house to blame my shortcomings on, I would just be another person swirling around and around, trying desperately not to drown with millions of others, billions probably. My mother still lives there, so does my brother. They cling to that house like a habit you can't seem to shake. It's the familiarity that holds them. I know it well. It is easy to stay there in the same way it is easy to stay in pain because you refuse to see a doctor. The pain is familiar, and you found a way to live with it. Seeking treatment would uproot your whole life, change your routines, turn what you know inside out. And so it goes. I'm lucky that I got out before I sunk too deep into the tar pit.
while I was still rebellious and passionate in the way only an 18-year-old can be. One day the house will topple, and with it will go the longest relationship of my life. A business or an apartment complex will someday take its place, and the people within won't know that they're living on haunted ground. I will have to find another place to think of as home, another house, another state, another person. I will have to accept that my pain will not disappear with that house. If it were that easy, I'd have taken a wrecking ball to it years ago. This next piece is called Thunderstruck. Peering out from my new front porch, after the last that brought only bright nights and dark days, I watched lightning spread across the cloud-ridden sky, its deep wine-purple hues flashing into cobalts, brilliant hot whites, lavenders, azures. I had once composed fleeting messages to a partner that was never meant to be. I shared the awe of rare weather's wonders that painted love letters in silver ink, but that was just an ill-fated entanglement. Looking up, longing for a dreamy future. I could never rescind how I felt then, nor would I ever want to erase it. Rose-colored stumbles led me to gentler arms where I have found brighter things were in store than that darkness and heartache before. And this last poem is called Resentful Repentance. Vibrant purge, black sea, uncanny filth swallows me. I grasp at what I have killed. Dubious comfort, blooming hate, hungry disease tempers fate. Where are the days of my empty youth? I stumble where I walk, I clutch my dangerous breast, seeking what is lost, unable to digest. What have I become? Oozing quiet contempt with hair a knotted mess, watching the spread of fire I tried so hard to repress. Thank you.
Our next three readers will be Laura Buxton, Charles Jones, and Faith Anderson.
That was a precious little, hesitant, oh, are we applauding this time around, or are we not? It was very cute. My name is Laurel Buxton. I use she, her pronouns. This piece, I didn't think it would go anywhere. I thought it was going to stay in my notes app for forever, but alas, here it is on page 121. This is about heartache, not heartbreak, but heartache, and how it hits you in the most unexpected ways. This is Small Hands, Spare Change. I am walking through a bustling farmer's market on a brisk October morning when I tuck my hand into my coat pocket. And it's funny, I have always hated coats. It's too much static, too bulky, not enough space to breathe, but I am always cold. And you teased me about this, asking why I never brought a jacket anywhere. And despite my constant shivers, I was stubborn. It's an excuse to be held, I suppose. But my icy fingers melted in your warm palm. And in the middle of the market, with my hand tucked into my pocket, 5 loose coins find my fingertips. My breath catches in my throat, and my fingers grasp the spare change, the memories, all the times in which I have held your hand, leaning against that gray wall in the office, in the museum, in times of crisis and contentment, small hands, spare change. It's a distinct but not unwelcome memory. Someday I'll spend the coins the same way I let your hand go for the last time. We were standing in the parking lot, and the bus was full behind you. The driver shouts for you to hurry, and tears blur my vision. I cannot see you. I can only feel you squeeze my hand tightly, tenderly. And it is too fast. It is all too fast. In a single breath, you're on the bus, and our fingers are stretched towards each other for the last time. And I turn away so you cannot see me cry. My trembling back betrays me. Months later, and I am here, standing in the market, wearing the coat you convinced me to buy. Spare change slips through my fingers. I hold on for dear life. Thank you.
I have no idea how this works. I'm Charlie Jones, and I'm going to be reading my poem for you all. It's called Baths in the Dark. He liked to take baths in near pitch black lighting, with music blasting from his phone, carefully balanced on the small windowsill, wind whistling through the cracked glass. That woman in the mirror would dance, which made her more bearable to behold, even in her shadowy mass, the paint chipping off the walls, delicately falling into the water, where he lay, motionless and cold.
Hello, everyone. My name is Faith Anderson. If you'd like to check out my work, obviously you can check out the stuff at Kolob Canyon Review, but you can also go down the street to the SUMA, the art museum, and I have an exhibit of my artwork in there. Today I will be reading just one of my poems, and it is called The Call. A deer bounds down a quiet street lined with quaint pastel homes, daintily laced, with white trim and decorated shutters, evenly spaced between picket fences. The wild forest, with its untamed branches and vivid vegetation, whispers from behind, beckoning to its wandering resident, as if to say, "Don't be long." The deer, with long, bony antlers and dark, keen eyes, pauses, watching you, who attempts to hide, only partially covered by thin satin drapes. But black eyes meet blue, and you stare back as its deep, discerning eyes promise secrets untold if you dare to follow. You do not heed the call. Not yet. Thank you.
All right, we're on to our last two readers for the evening. We have Kenna Johnson and Carlos Bertoglio.
Okay, hi. I'm Kenna. This is my first time getting published, and I wrote a poem called Grand Reunion, and I'm going to read that for you. It says, I used to dream about the moment I would see him again. That moment colored the landscape behind my sleep-stained eyelids, and I lived in it. I danced in it. I imagined 100 different settings and scenarios, the slick-tiled lobby of an airport, the quiet breathlessness of the university library, or the cramped front porch of his house on Cottonwood Lane. I imagined running, like all the girls do in all the movies, and colliding into him with all the force and emotion of 3 years apart, and the waiting, missing, hoping would culminate in one gorgeous supernova moment. All the fruitless days would be nullified, their hurt sucked out by that grand reunion. I can't tell you how much I wanted it, and I never got it, because the first time I saw him after all those years felt like the moment on the roller coaster when you're suspended between track and sky, and all your organs are lava lamping around in your body. It wasn't romantic. No tearful hug, no impulsive kiss, just nothing. Whatever was warm and alive between us now lay pulseless and pale at our sneakered feet, like roadkill. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of a context before I read my next 7 poems. No, 2, only 2. So these 2 poems are part of a book I wrote. I started writing after my first son was born. I'm a professor at SU, so I knew I was not gonna be able to live in like money. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave him like at least some words, right? So this book, it's called Conversos, which is like a portmanteau using like 2 words in Spanish. One is consejos, which means advice, and also versos, verses, but also, plays with the word and with the idea of like converts, yes, which is what I felt I was once I became a father, which is something I never, up to that point, I'd never seen myself being able to do so. And I mean, realized that was like something huge. So, first poem, page 106, called Renouncement. One day you leave, as is to be expected. My hands will dismiss you and clasp into silence their renouncement. Like blind earthworms, they lose themselves in some pocket, clumsy with defeat, desolate, entangled. You will return, I hope. I will have died a little. I will pretend that nothing has changed. I'm proud of you, I say into the void, and the poem, some 15 years before, cleverly captures it. That this phrase may fix itself to your wings, adolescent superstition, first hymn whispered into half darkness at the threshold of this dawn. Oh, one more thing. Just in case it wasn't clear to you in the future, please don't go. Okay, and the last one is called Path. And it also starts with the phrase, one day. Not all my poems start that way, just in case. One day, this house will be a heap of stones. When time or war have separated us, and death, like fire, obscures our walls, our fever, our shared tongue. My name, a void on the edge of your lips, cruel spring, vile murmur, the mob, the landslide, the sorrow of knowing ourselves lost. In this world of limbs piled up on a table, you'll walk without me, and you'll be okay. It will be natural. Perhaps one day, and by coincidence, you'll kick a stone, and it will be the last and lowest bit of our foundation. Right then, and not a moment before, throw away the key, breathe deep, and follow your path. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much for reading tonight, everybody. Can we get one more round of applause for all of our contributors? Okay, I'm going to use my power of being at the podium here to say a couple of things. So you're about to get really sick of my voice. I'm so sorry for you. I would like to take the time to make some thank yous. Firstly, to all of you for being here tonight again. We really couldn't do this without your support. I would also like to thank all of the faculty that I see in the audience tonight. We have some wonderful creative writing and other faculty here. Thank you for clapping. I didn't even have to tell you to clap. Professors, I don't think you guys get told enough what you do for our student body here. So many of these works are a result of your classes, whether that's CNF, visual art, anything that way. You guys do so very much for our community here on campus, and I would like to take that time to thank you guys. I would also like to thank the design staff, Brock and everybody there tonight. They do not get enough credit for these additions. So would everybody join me in giving them thanks? I would also like to thank my editing staff tonight. The process of creating an edition of KCR is kind of laborious. We start early in the fall with our call for submissions. Then we work to judging and selecting, as well as the editing process. And the editing process is grueling. It takes several rounds. We stay up for absolute nightmarish hours, trying to make sure that everything's really pristine for you guys into the issue that you guys have in your hands today. So I'd like to thank them for all of their hard work today as well. Sorry, I'm making you do all of the clapping. My apologies. If you guys would like, this is kind of a selfish little pitch, because KCR has been my life since I was a freshman. Like I said, I've been on this staff for 3 years now, and it's been quite possibly the best thing out of my college experience. So if any of you are interested in being part of the staff, whether that's on the design or literary side, please talk to either Brock Landrum or Nano Tagar, the advisors for that. I would also really love to give a huge, huge thank you to Nano Tagar. He likes to go through and say that it's me that runs this show. I would not be here on this stage if it wasn't for that man. So please join me in thanking him. All right, so that very long list of thank yous aside, thank you guys for coming tonight. Please feel free to look at the art that's still here tonight. Buy some merch on your way out. Please continue to buy editions. Continue to support us. We'll be back here with the 24 edition, so please watch for that call for submissions in the fall, and we hope to see you guys next year. Thank you so much.